I was thinking about this a lot just because I think young women, especially, are going to be hearing a lot of this provider propaganda in the coming times. And I think it's very important to mentally arm ourselves, but especially young women against that. Men have never been providers. And the only type of man that you will ever hear describe himself as a provider is going to be a man who is trying to impress other men. Like, this is not a straight man. That's what I'm saying. Straight men understand the value of a woman in their life, and they would never call whatever it is that they do to keep that woman around providing, right? If you want to have a beautiful woman in your life who is going to, do the things that you want her to do, or do the things, or maybe you agree on like a traditional like provider housewife kind of marriage, then first of all you have to actually be a provider, right? Most men are going to say that they're a provider when really what they're providing is a salary meant to support one person, 50, 60K. And they will want to call themselves a provider because it's enough to pay the mortgage. You're not a provider, sir. You haven't provided anything. Yeah, traditional men need a traditional bank account, right? Even beyond that, even the traditional men, they were very often bringing in only enough to support one person. And then the wife has to provide everything else. Do you see what I mean? So it's like, if you bring in the money, that's one thing. You're a bringer. You're not a provider. You're not providing anything. You just brought an insufficient amount of money. Yeah, and so it's actually turning out, we're actually finding out that like even in the hunter-gatherer times when men were supposedly hunters and women were gatherers, women were bringing in more food, and they were bringing in like 60% of all the food and resources. And so men have never been sole providers. It's silly to expect a man to be the sole provider. Only like 1% of men will ever be able to really give you that and really be able to give you the meaning of the word provider, which also y'all have to understand. A provider would never hold it over somebody's head that he's providing, right? A provider, like my husband has never in 13 years of marriage ever been like, well, I go to work and I bring home the money, and so therefore like I'm the provider and you're just like whatever. Never in a million years. 50-50 is okay with me if the person that you're living with is your roommate and you're not, as a woman, sharing your body with them, and you're not procreating with them, because none of that will ever be 50-50. That's what I'm saying. If you are sleeping with a man and there's any chance in hell that you could ever get pregnant, you better make sure that man can support you and a child. Let's not get carried away here. This is not me saying 50-50 is good. I'm just saying that men who have that provider mindset, they're looking to impress other men. They're not looking to impress women. They don't like women, right? Here's who should be the provider. Read the topic, okay? Provider men are a down low male's fantasy, okay? So if you're going to come into this live, let's stick to the actual subject, okay? We're not talking about letting a man provide. Men are never, you have to understand, men are never providers. Men are not, do I even like men? On a grand scale, absolutely not. On a grand scale, absolutely not. Down low means they are secretly a sword fighter. They want to sword fight with other men. So men have never been the providers. They have been the hoarders of resources. They've hoarded the resources. The thing that we have come to view as providership from men to like ungrateful women that are just staying at home and like spending the man's money, that's where I take issue with that. Men who want to sleep with other men, those are down low men, but they're not looking to admit that, okay? So men have historically, they've hoarded resources away from women. They have definitely, not wanted women to be able to provide for themselves. And that's why men have hoarded resources away from women. This is why we have not been allowed to enter the workforce until men needed us to enter the workforce. Men have never provided anything to women. They've taken it away first, and then they have given us conditions on how we can get to those resources, right? And that's basically where this word provider even comes from, because women, when we were hunter-gatherers, women had no problem gathering resources, even better than men. And that's in fact why men glommed onto us. Okay. Do I have a Discord? Not yet, y'all. I'm trying to get things, going. So far I'm focusing on YouTube content. I'm focusing on the podcast. Please check it out. We work really, really hard to bring y'all like really good content. So please check that out. That's really been my baby. That's really been my labor of love. People have been asking me since pretty much the beginning of this channel to start a podcast, and we finally have, and it's been growing, it's been thriving. We have an amazing Patreon community. Patreon is basically my Discord right now. Like, if y'all really want to be part of the discussion that we're having, me and my co-hosts, our community over there, we post blogs, we post polls, we post video messages. We're just really in there working our ass off right now. I put up a blog on Saturday, I think. It's available to the VIP Patreons, but in a week it'll be available publicly to everybody. So make sure you check it out. Okay, so expand on the title. So when men, to me, okay, so this is just my opinion, but to me, when men want to be viewed as the provider, they're not looking to impress women. Women have never been impressed by provider men. In fact, like, too many women marry down. Women a lot of times marry down and they help the man provide, right? They help the man get himself together. When men want to be viewed as provider men, who they're really trying to impress is other men, okay? We are impressed by emotional intelligence. We are impressed by a man who can think for himself instead of looking to other men to make them feel like a big, strong provider and stuff like that. Men mostly provide for male approval. That's really who they care about. And a lot of these provider men, they don't really care who their wife is and who, like, what she's doing. A lot of these men are really just mostly looking to impress other men, and they're looking to spend a lot of time together with other men. Women are not interested so much in provider men unless women are deprived of resources. Don't women only care about female approval? I fucking wish so badly that were the case. I wish. If that were the case, we would be living in the year 3000. If women only cared about the approval of other women, we would be set. I wouldn't even need this channel. Like, we would be living in an amazing world. But no, the patriarchy is very good at brainwashing both men and women especially. Yes, the women who thrive on male approval are the most dangerous ones, right? So yeah, I think that most men that are like real, what we would call providers, we have to think about the fact that these men would never hold it over anybody's head that they are a provider, right? A provider is somebody that knows their purpose, and they're not going to go around, shouting about it to everybody who's going to listen. A provider is like a natural leader. That's what women do. What women do is actually provide everything that their children need, everything that their husband needs, and most of the time they do it all on a mediocre ass salary from a man whose only like chore is to roll out the fucking garbage cans once a week. Women are natural leaders. Women do not need to be told. They do not need to be patted on the back for being a mother or a provider or a good wife or a good person or anything like that. Men, exactly. We provide, men take. So when men come into your life and they claim to be a provider, like, first of all, sir, you cannot claim that on a sub 100K salary. A sub 100K salary, that is you're providing for one person, and you're making that your wife's problem. You are not a provider. You are not a provider. And if you live in a high cost of living area and you make sub 100K, you're not providing jack shit. If you're living in a high cost of living area, your income should be proportionate to that high cost of living, and it should be enough to support not one, but two people. So most men need not apply to the title of a provider. You are not a provider if you are making enough to cover one person's expenses. Exactly, Twizzle. Base level happiness starts at middle class. We're not talking. And what you'll notice is that the men that are real providers and the men that really, make that amount and they provide their wife with actual, like, enough to live on, enough to do stuff for herself on, right? Enough for her to also have like a happy, healthy, satisfying life where she can get out of the house, where she can hire a nanny, where she can like do all this kind of stuff. That's a provider. right? But those men will never, ever, ever call themselves a provider. You know what they're going to say? They're going to say it's the least I can do. What I'm really doing is just, I'm benefiting, right? Look at Pookie and Jet. Would he ever call himself a provider? No, no. He's like, I'm doing all this to keep Pookster around. That's what it is. Real men know, especially real straight men. Again, because they're not trying to impress other men. It's other men that are impressed by money. It's other men that are, women are impressed by how men treat them, right? And so when you talk about a man who's going to be like stingy about groceries, or be like, oh, you're just going to go get your hair done and I'm going to be over here providing and going to work and like been homeless, because most men work 2 jobs to make the ends meet. So then why don't y'all go to the government and lobby for higher salaries? Like, the government is literally cucking y'all to the point where y'all can't get women, to the point where y'all can't be a real provider, and y'all still vote for Donald Trump. Like, I can't help you. I can't help you. You're coming to me with problems that men could easily solve and fix for themselves if they wanted to. But the problem is that raising like salaries and demanding a higher wage and stuff, that in this day and age, that would benefit women too. And y'all's dicks are too small to do that. Y'all's dicks are too small to handle women that make the same amount of money as you. Literally, men cannot be physically in the same room as women that make more money than them, because they cannot figure out then who's like the man. It literally affects their actual like identity so much. But who's the man? But who's the masculine one in the relationship? Like, it's all about money for men. There's a man in the comments that said, oh, it's always been about money for you. That I've just been waiting for you to admit it. It's always been about money for men. That's why y'all hold it over our heads. Women, that's what I'm saying. Women are not holding things over men's heads. Like, women just quietly do what they're supposed to be doing. That's why they're the real leaders, providers, and alphas. Men are whatever the opposite of those 3 things are. They're followers, they're leeches, parasites, and they're betas. You can't even, like, how can you even call yourself an alpha if you don't even have the ability to, like, bring forth life, if you don't have the ability to, like, persevere the way that women have persevered? You can't call yourself an alpha. It's just really, like, yeah. And then when women become independent, what do men do? Instead of cheering us on and being like, oh, good, now we don't have to carry the load of provider. Now we don't have to like do all this stuff. Now we don't have to like take on all of these burdens. No, instead of that, they're like, no, this can't be. They're like, these women are too masculine these days. These women are too masculine. They're too independent. We need to get them back in the kitchen. We need to have them back barefoot and pregnant. Thank you so much. I actually got my eyebrows microbladed, and if you live in the Pacific Northwest, DM me. I can give you the hookup. It's very low character building on men's part, and it's very, how do we have children if we're living without men? Have y'all ever heard of a sperm bank? Y'all ever heard of a one night stand? Do that. You can just do it. Like, just do it. Just go to a sperm bank and have a kid. Like, who cares? Yeah, and the word provider is always related to finance. Why? Because that's the part that they have hoarded away from us, right? So that's the only thing that they can like keep away from us, right? Because they view us as keeping something away from them. Women are not trying to keep anything away from men. We've always been more than willing to share. We've always been more than willing to work together. It's men that cannot handle that. And this is why men have to call themselves providers, because they know that they actually provide nothing. They provide nothing. What, ladies, chat in the comments, please. Drop, what has a man ever brought to your life, provided into your life? Positives only. What has a man ever done for you that you're actually thankful for? Like what? Nothing. Stress, nothing, exactly. Yep. A headache. Was gonna say stress and trauma. Exactly. Male bosses also hate to see you thrive at work. Yep. Carbon dioxide, period. Yeah, positives, exactly. Can't think of any. That's what I'm saying. Like women will sit there and listen to a man talk about like, whoa, provider. And we never bother to ask them like, what? Do you guys have a father? I do have a father. I have a father who was a provider. And you know what he did? He not only brought money into the house, He also provided emotional support. He also provided every single day he would come home, he would never sit down on the couch. That's what he provided. You know, when I ever saw my dad sit down, I saw him sit down into his bed and then lie down and go to sleep. That's when my dad sits down. Yeah, I thought they don't provide. Exactly. It's a very rare man to provide. My dad is a rare man, not like you losers asking about, did I have a father? Exactly. What's funny is a woman provided a man that's actual life. Like, women provided y'all. Women provided y'all into the world. Yeah, see, my father was at every single play, recital, talent show, drove us to all of our extracurriculars. Exactly, same with me and my dad. Like, I've never seen you debate anyone. It'd be too easy for me to debate y'all. Like, patriarchy just takes all the credit for women's work. Exactly. You guys belittle men who actually provide for families. Who? Who does that? I just want to know, like, who, when have you ever heard a woman talk shit about a man who actually provided? I have a good dad. He's a good man. They're hard to find these days. That's why you're on my channel, because you understand what I'm saying. Yeah, and a lot of men call themselves a provider, but they provide nothing but money. Like, they don't provide anything about, you know, anything emotionally. They don't provide any leadership. They don't provide any presence, like male presence or anything like that. Let's see. Can you talk about signs he's DL? He wants to impress other men. Other men's opinion matters more to him than a woman's opinion or your opinion. And men would have to work anyways, while married women work twice as much. Exactly. What is he providing? He's providing extra work. 70% of women that are married have an income. Like, men are not providers on a grand scale. Yeah, and that's why my dad's going to be very well taken care of at the end of his life. You know what I mean? He's not going to die alone in an apartment in his tidy-whities surrounded by cans of soup, as Shira 7 would say. That's not how my dad's going to go out. He's going to go out surrounded by everybody that loves him. Yeah, a man that financially provides but does nothing else is actually mean and abusive and isn't providing, period, Lori. Thank you so much. That is exactly right. That man is only providing emotional abuse to his family and uncertainty, if anything, because these men are always threatening to, like, take their money and run. Yeah, that's like the biggest sign that a man is DL, is when he does not seem to care about the opinions of women. When the opinions of his buddies, the opinions of, like, random men matter more to him. If all of his heroes that he worships are men. If he's not into, you know, things that women enjoy. If he's not into hanging out with women. You know, if getting your man to hang out with you is like pulling teeth, he's not into you or he's not into women. If it's always easy for him to hang out with his friends and Saturdays are for the boys, and even when he's in a relationship, his boys are his priority, for him, let the boys have. That is not your man. That's their man. Yeah, my dad only provided money and now he's surprised that I only call him for money. That's because men conflate bringing in money to the household just because they have made it so that we need money to survive. Like, money is the original tool of control, right, of women. Women have always been down to share resources. Women have always been down not to gatekeep any resources because they understand that that's a better way for society to work. Once men realized that in that kind of society, you would need 1 or 2 men per every 50 women tops, they panicked. And they decided to flip the switch. They decided that they were going to hoard resources and then provide them back to women. And that's why they started, you know, settling down on farms, having their own piece of land. That was all so that they could get women by force, mind you. They didn't want to get women based on merit. This is where ownership of things comes in. How can you own something that's a part of this earth? Like, how can you ever, like, own something like that? You can't. But that's why men made that up. It's to give women this false idea of scarcity. You can only get this if you go through me first. This is the whole idea of, like, Christianity and capitalism and all of these things that men have invented in order to keep women down, because frankly, because a lot of them are DL and they don't like women. A lot of men literally hate women and want to see us suffering. They want to see us destitute. They want to see us absolutely buried. They want to bury our light under the bushel because they resent us. They resent us more than they love themselves, more than they, you know, love a good, healthy society that has everything that everybody needs. Men resent women more than that because a lot of men are not attracted to women. They're attracted to other men men. And the only reason that they even deal with women is to impress other men. That's what it is. That's why they made up this whole provider idea, this whole fantasy of being a provider. What do you think about women who believe in this provider man fantasy and trad wives? I missed a lot. They're going to find out sooner or later. They're going to fuck around and they're going to find out. There's not a lot of old trad wives, right? There's a lot of older single women. And I don't know if y'all knew this, but the majority of the homeless population is actually women. Women just happen to have like more places where they could stay at while technically still not having a home. But the majority of the homeless population is older, white women who married a provider man. So do not make that mistake, ladies. Don't do it. Let me tell y'all what a real provider would look like. If you want to talk about a real provider, first of all, would be making enough to cover the living needs of two people, not one person, two people. So if you are making sub 100K, you are not in the conversation. You're not in the running to be a provider. You provide for yourself, and you're making that a woman's problem if you're doing that. If you're trying to raise a family on a sub 100K salary, that's fine. And a lot of people do that. And a lot of people are okay with that. A lot of women are okay with that. That's because they are making that sacrifice. They are making a sacrifice to become the provider in a family where a man's not bringing in enough money to make it. That's when the woman also becomes the provider. This is why people get confused about, oh, so you believe in 50-50. No, I don't believe in 50-50. I believe that when a man makes less than enough to support a family of 5, right? Then the woman has to become a provider. She's going to have to provide cheap meals. She's going to have to provide, all of this mental labor in order to make everything work on a sub 100K salary for her and multiple children and a husband, all of whom have preferences, allergies, special needs, etc. So when that happens, a man is no longer the provider, okay? Then the woman becomes the provider. If a man really wanted to be a provider, he would be making about 150K just to begin with. If a man really wanted to be a provider to a woman, he would never, ever, ever make it so that she can't survive without him, right? If he wanted to really provide for her, that's what he would do. He would make sure that she is set, like actually and literally for life, okay? That's what he would do. That's a provider. If he was gonna ever expect this woman to provide children for him, he would provide also a fat ass savings account for those children. In a country where we don't have guaranteed health care, in a country where we don't have any social safety net, in a country where women take such a huge hit when they become mothers career-wise. Your man, if he was really a provider, that's all that he would do for you, okay? He would most certainly not sit here and expect you to take his little 60K paycheck and clip coupons and go to the grocery store and figure out the cheapest meals and figure out how to feed your kids on all of that. That is not a provider, man. That is a leech. That is a parasite. Okay, that's a parasite that's glommed onto you, because without you, he would have nothing. He would have even less without you, right? When you're talking about a provider, like a provider has to have enough to like actually go around. When you make 60, 70K, you're not providing shit. You're barely covering the living expenses of one person. Your wife is most likely going to have to become a provider alongside you. Your wife is most likely going to have to take a hit on the things that she wants to do in life to become a provider for you. That's what's going to happen. If you make sub 100K, you need not apply for the title of provider. So most of y'all, 90% of men, do not need to apply. If a man was a provider, he would have put you on every business that he owns. That's him providing for you. If a man was a provider, you would have equal access to all the bank accounts. You could do whatever you want with that money. Mojo, I got bad news for you. I have some very attractive male gay friends, and they would very much tell you that a lot of men are on the down low. A lot more than you think. What do I mean men are not providers? I mean men will bring home a 50K salary and call themselves a provider. You're not a provider. You're taking, if any. Hey, Bella, you can come up. I'm not going to be on here very long, though.
I'm not going to be up long, but for those who keep asking what down low is, Down low means a closeted man, a man that
Wants to sword
afraid.
fight.
If y'all want a point of reference in regard what down low is, there's a movie that was released February 22nd, 2008 with the actor Leon in it, and the movie is called Cover.
I
Y'all
haven't seen
need
it.
to go you need to go watch that movie.
Cover.
It's
We'll do.
called Cover.
Oh, maybe that'll be our first film review on the podcast. Thank you. Write that down,
When
ladies.
y'all when y'all watch this movie, it's gonna blow your wig all the way to the middle of your head. Please read the book by Smith and Doe, What Men Don't Want Women to Know.
Go ahead. I've read this book and
There,
I'm still married. Bella's read this book and she's still married, but
yes,
you
and
gotta
matter
know
of
this.
fact,
Bell Hooks was also married, to a feminist man, a very, out and about feminist man. And one day he just decided he didn't want that shit anymore. He decided it was too hard and he shrimped out of being a feminist man. So don't ever think that any man really has your back. They're not providers at heart. They don't want to provide anything to you. They're with you because you make their life easier. And the only way to avoid that kind of man is to stop making men's lives easier. I don't
exactly.
live.
And I'm going to quote something out of that book that may make y'all a little bit sick to your stomachs. Smith and Doe stated in that book that if men didn't need us, they would delete us from the planet.
Period. Everyone needs everyone. No, you're right, sir. We do need y'all to harass and rape and assault us and do all that because that's what y'all bring to the table. You're right. We really could not survive without that. My goodness. Can you imagine, ladies, what we would do if there were no men? Go ahead and drop it in the chat what you would do if there was no men. How does your husband react to the book? What makes him different? How do you find men like this? He's just aware, like he's self-aware, he has empathy,
Mm-hmm.
and he understand like he doesn't want what the patriarchy is offering. It's easy. It's the path of least resistance. It's sad. And it's like, it ultimately makes you less of a person at the end of the day. It makes you more like an animal. Yeah, I would wear what I wanted to. I would not cover my drink at the bar. We could do anything and everything without fear of attack.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, I would wear a
Mm-hmm.
dress at night with headphones over both ears. Yeah, I could actually walk around at night, be able to have a better job, go anywhere without fear, have no anxiety, hike alone. Yep. Take a walk in nature at night, go out at night. That's what we would do if there
Mm-hmm.
was no men. So that's how we need each other. That's how badly we need each other. By the way, men. Women would make do with like 10 men. We don't need that many of y'all. Sure, we need each other, but for what? You know? I would have a clean house and a clean environment. I would book a trip around the world. Exactly. Women would
Right.
love each other more. Exactly. Not have to look at
Mm-hmm.
that vandalism. Yep. What percent of men do you think are aware in America? I would say one. I don't know. I've met a few men that know what the deal is, but I think that's really and literally because I refuse to be around men who don't know. I don't waste my time as friends, as coworkers, as anything with men who don't realize these things at least on some scale. And even when they do realize them, it still takes a lot of like talking to and training them and like really hashing these things out with them and like discussing these things with them because
Exactly.
yeah, I don't think a lot of men know because they don't want to know. It's too much work. It's easier for them to just fall back on the path of least resistance that the patriarchy has created for them. And that's why they also want to be known as providers. This is one of those like easy ramps that they use. How do you have to talk to them to figure it out? You don't be nice to them. And like the moment that they make some sort of uncomfortable joke, statement, say something stupid, just like cut them out of your life. Yeah, DL means attracted to men. I think a lot more men are DL because a lot of men are socialized to like other men more than women. Like you have to be really, 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 really straight as a man. And I'm not saying that being like bi or anything is bad. But I'm just saying you have to be really, 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 really straight as a man to like value the presence of a woman so much to ignore what the other men are going to say about you and call you, right? Because if men really liked women and if men really, you know, as a whole, were not on the DL at least a little bit, why the fuck would they make fun of men calling them simps, of men calling them whipped? Why would they do that? That's a man that's getting laid every night. That's a man that has found a woman that'll actually sleep with him. And men will make fun of that man. Why is that not impressive to you? If you like women too, why aren't you impressed? Exactly. So, like, if most men are non DL, they're not giving me the right signs because they're not impressed with other men for getting women. How to make them understand that going to their job doesn't entitle them to own us. Stop marrying them and stop hanging out with them if they want to act like that, if they want to talk like that. Yeah, they respect men more than women.
Either one in all.
Yeah, my husband had an engineering degree and was worthless. Love my single life. Girl, he was probably only worthless to you. He was probably very useful at his job. He just didn't care about you. How to stop
And as you can
resenting them
see,
so I can actually find a good one. Don't stop resenting them. A good one will understand why you resent men. My husband, before I started this channel, do you know who had to listen to me say all this shit every single day? My husband.
same with mine.
Yeah,
The same with mine.
yeah.
And I've been married now 10 years.
He supported me the whole way. I resent men. Like, I hate them as a whole. I am not even trying to hide that.
And you are not alone.
Yeah.
My husband is the only man that I trust outside of my nephew. And that's it. Those are the only men that I trust. Other than that, I don't trust any of them. Somebody asked, why did I get married? Because my husband came to me with his hands open, and he came to me with offering.
A provider,
And he did
if you
not
will.
he did not do a bait and switch. And he told me his duty was to make sure that my life was easy. He nursed me back to health. Guess what? I no longer need to be on the list to get a new heart. My blood pressure is now under control.
Yeah, so he did the opposite of what most men would do. He didn't come to take from you, right? Like you said, he came with his
No.
hands open. He came to take care of you. That's what real men will understand. They're gonna
And
understand that your presence is worth just that. Like, if they really want to be around you, that's what they have to do. Because everything else you can provide for yourself if you really needed to.
I have a picture of myself when I was previously married to a monster. And in that photograph, you could see the life had been pulled out of me. Now, if you see a photograph of me today, complete opposite of that.
Absolutely.
Complete opposite of that. And by the way, I have 6 cats. And Uncle Bella takes care of all 6 of those cats, and they adore him.
That's a good man, Savannah. A good man.
Somebody has asked her why she married the first guy in the first place. First of all, he pulled what is called a bait and switch. If you don't know what a bait and switch is, go look that up. That's what car salesmen use. Bait and switch is basically showing your representative, and once the representative has pulled you in, then the true self comes forward.
Yeah, so, and it's hard because it's like, yeah, don't fall for that, ladies, but that it's really hard to tell. That's how much men need us, is that they literally will sit there and pretend for years and years and years just to trap us and then reveal their true face. So don't ever think that men are out here, the real providers and like da 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 da. They're not. They're literally bait and switchers. They're parasites, right? They act
Yes.
at first
Yes.
like, oh, we're just doing this together and let's build together and let's, you know, put our resources together. And then they cheat on you when you're pregnant. That's their whole game. Exactly. They teach each other how to do it. They
Okay.
teach each other how to run game on women. That's what Red Pill is for.
Medicare.
That's what all of these, you know, yeah, they strategize together. Exactly.
Now, Meow Cow Pow, which I feel like is a troll.
Yeah,
If you
he needs to be
understand
blocked.
undervalued car, then it's your fault, not the car salesman. Accountability, ladies. Here's the thing. The accountability that we are taking as women is removing ourselves from the equation.
That's the accountability. Yeah. What more do you want?
When we totally remove ourselves from the equation, that leaves everything on the phallus carrier. One of the things that I am so proud of as a mother of two daughters, both of my daughters chose not to marry. And both of my daughters, even though the oldest daughter has a little girl, which is my granddaughter, she got herself sterilized. And the youngest daughter, who has no children, got herself sterilized. One is 31 and the other one is 30. Both of them are in careers and they are focusing solely on themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, the oldest daughter had to learn the hard way about how these jokers operate out here. I got myself sterilized when I was 22 years old back in 1994 after I had my last child. The person that I'm currently married to, Uncle Bella, he got himself sterilized after he had his two children.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, for those who are afraid to have children, be very afraid, especially in the current climate that we have right now. And I'm going to be real with you.
Yeah.
I had more rights than my daughter, than my granddaughter.
We're going backwards like every single day. And men want us to believe that there's anything in this for us. Like, it's crazy. It's really crazy how much they will do other than just like play on an even playing field with us. Because we win every time. That's what I mean. Like, provider men are a fantasy. They're a fantasy for other men. The only people that care about provider men are other men. Okay. Somebody asked what I think about Shira. I think Shira, you need to listen to her to have your eyes open to the truth. I think what she's giving is financial advice. I don't think it's like love advice. And I think that's good. I think that because men want to use y'all as baby incubators, as baby makers, as cook, clean, all that.
Absolutely.
You should at least be able to use them as an ATM. And mind you, Shara doesn't even do any of that. She's like, my presence alone, I bring nothing to the table. My presence alone is what this man is like fighting for me for. He cooks, he cleans. If he doesn't want to do it, he can hire somebody else to do it. That's not my job, because she is a high value woman, right? And so it's enough for him to just provide for her, for her not to do anything. She provided him children. She provided him, by being a piece of arm candy for him. She provided him status. So that's what y'all need to be thinking about. Because when men talk about, provider, sir, you make $60,000 a year.
Matter of fact, one of my mutuals just put a post up a few days ago where they're proposing to keep women who are not active brain-wise alive for the purpose of incubating babies. I want you to hear me again.
Yeah.
And for those, drop fruit in the comments when I say this the way it needs to be said. They're proposing to keep brain dead women alive just for the purpose of growing children.
Because they can't actually invent the artificial wombs that they keep threatening us with. It's too complex of a process. They're not actually ever going to be able to grow, children without us. And even if they are, I would love to see them take care of those children. I fear for those children that are going to be born without a mother, because they're going to find out exactly, why they need women. Somebody said, try to live without men. I bet you can't. We can't live with y'all. That's the problem. Y'all unleash us. Y'all abuse us. Y'all like DV us. We can't live with y'all. That's the point that we're coming to, is like, it's getting impossible to actually live with y'all. That's
matter of fact, I have a friend in my home state who has been celibate and has not lived with a man for over 22 years.
How's she doing?
She's doing very well.
Thriving. I know it is. Yeah.
22 years.
I know she is. I just know she's living her best life.
Yes, she is.
Michael, you know who's really miserable? It's you, sir. It's you. The fact that you're in this live right? Probably thinking of
Oh no,
yourself
I
as a
got him.
provider man, has never
I
built
got
a
him.
house, has never gone to
Cause that's a
war,
troll account.
doesn't know how to fucking fix a car. That's you,
I
dada.
got him out of here.
Thank you. Yeah, they can't live without us and they hate us for it. Exactly. When men talk about we built society and like da 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 da, women built society. Society is made up of people. It's not made up of buildings and judicials and laws and all that. If you had no people, you would not have a society. So when men talk about we built this and that, it would mean nothing. Build everything you want, and if women don't have children, you're screwed. That's why they're afraid of us. That's why they're afraid of us because they're like, oh, we're not going to actually have a society. Men are like, oh, we protect women during the war. Why? Why? Why do you protect women? We provide the actual society. A society is made out of people. I have not seen Night Bitch. I have been meaning to. I know it was a very validating movie to a lot of parents. Yeah, and who started the war? Men. SA increases during the war. Yeah, that's because men know what really makes a difference. And that's what men are going to find out too. The more you try to trap us, like we are animal based. Y'all need to understand we have animalistic instinct. Women are going to become more like sociopathic. Women are going to become more dark triad oriented because men are
Mm-hmm.
going to be doing this.
They're
So,
gonna go back to the old ways. They're gonna go back to the old and you already know my story. The women that raised me were born between 1911 and 1945, and the things that they had to do to survive dealing with those jokers. You
yeah.
know.
And if men were real, like providers or anything, protectors or anything, they would be getting rid of these men. Instead, they're just standing by as these men get rid of
Mm-hmm.
women. You can't convince me that most men are not just looking to impress other men. You can't convince me that most men are concerned with the opinion of women or concerned with getting women to be attracted to them. Most men
Mm-hmm.
want to be liked and they want to be approved of by other men. That's why, like, a lot of men, that's why I tell you not to deal with most of them in the first place, because you first even have
Mm-hmm.
to weed out the like 80, 70, 80% of them that are,
Mm-hmm.
for whatever reason, whether they're closeted, whether they're just like brainwashed by the patriarchy, don't like women. They like men more than women. There are some men that are straight and they're attracted to women schmexually, but they are not attracted to women as people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they view schmex as a way to conquer us. They view schmex as a
Mm-hmm.
way to dominate us, and they go tell other men about their exploits, right? And that's how they get their status among men. They're not here to get with women. They're not here to, really even sleep with women. They're here to
Mm-mm.
conquer women and use it as a way to impress men. They're like, you know how many women I slept with.
Mm-hmm.
You're are you neurodivergent?
Yes, I am.
You got ADHD? Yeah. See, that's all of us. And I swear this is like the women that can see things very clearly, right? It's because
Mm-hmm.
you're not so much.
Yes. Here's the thing. I didn't realize that I was neurodivergent until I approached my 50s. Had we had the resources then that we have today, a lot of us would be a lot better off.
Oh, absolutely.
And being a neurodivergent woman, I was the one that could see through the slow roasted bull.
Yep.
And I'm the black sheep of the family. A matter of fact, I've gone no contact with the entire family. I don't talk to anybody in the family whatsoever. They label me as the demon child.
Yeah, they don't want to ask questions. A lot of people just would rather not ask. It's hard.
Right.
I will say it's hard. It's like I could have stayed in the church, if I didn't ask questions. I could have done a lot of things. Was I not so good at asking questions that piss people off?
You know what? I happen to be fortunate because I was not raised up in the church at all, and
Oh,
I
yeah,
lived in a
very fortunate.
neighborhood that I was surrounded by church.
Very fortunate for sure.
Yeah, I was not raised up in the church. Some of the people that I have come across in my lifetime is that if you had been raised up in the church, you wouldn't be behaving this way.
You'd be behaving worse. They're right.
Mm-hmm.
You'd be a lot worse off. And that's another like thing that helps to perpetuate this whole provider man fantasy, because the Bible starts off with a woman was made from a man's rib. Sovereign just made a video about this that y'all should go watch, about how religious men are actually the most dangerous and the most unhinged.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so true.
Mm-hmm.
Because any man
Mm-hmm.
can look around at the fact that every person in the world actually came from a woman. Like the only thing we've never seen a man give birth. We've never seen a man make
Mm-mm.
anything from his rib. We've never seen a man,
Girl, if
and
they were
you can look
tasked,
around at that and be like, oh no, it's God as a man.
if they were tasked with giving birth, they would go ahead and jump into a volcano.
Absolutely.
They would. They
They
would jump.
wouldn't come near a woman with a 60-foot pole.
They would jump into a volcano. The Peter Whackers busting open. No,
Because just so
no.
y'all know, that is like technically kind of what happens to women. A uterus, the opening of a uterus is like this small normally, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And as the baby comes out, it opens up to like, this big.
10
And
centimeters.
so it would be basically the equivalent of of a man birthing a baby through his peen. That's the kind of pain that women experience when they give birth.
Birth, and I have done it 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
Giving birth is the same equivalent as all of your bones breaking all at once. And
Mm-hmm.
the biggest of my babies weighed 10 pounds, 13 ounces. I was 21 years old. No epidural, no anything. Pushed her out, sat for 30 minutes, got up on my feet, and walked to the cafeteria because I was in labor for 12 hours.
Yeah, and they think their D is gonna make stuff loose. Great point, Brandon. That's the delusion, right? That's the delusion. That's why they like to have these fantasies, because women do
Mm-hmm.
things every single day that men can never even dream of. Men could build all the buildings in the world. Men could invent. I don't believe a man has ever actually invented anything, by the way. I believe all their ideas are stolen from women, but okay, even give them that. Men can invent
Mm-hmm.
whatever they want, and it
Mm-hmm.
still wouldn't be as much of a contribution as what women do every single day. Why they
Mm-hmm.
need us. That's why they need to control us. That's why they need to convince us that they're the real providers. That's why they need to
Mm-hmm.
do all of this that they do and make rules about our health, our bodies, our freedoms, how whether we can work
Mm-hmm.
or not. If they were real providers, they wouldn't be worried about women entering the
No.
workforce. If they
No.
were real
Mm-mm.
providers, they wouldn't be mad about women, you know, having anything that they don't have. They'd be like, oh, that's fine. I can still provide. But they're not
You know what?
providers. They're takers. They're parasites.
I'm a, I'm gonna tell you something, Lisa. I had my tubes clipped and burned in 1994 when I was 22 years old after I gave birth to my last daughter. And I went in for surgery the following morning after delivering her. When I came home from the hospital after I had that procedure done, of course, your abdomen is going to be a little bit tender, so you can't stand up straight right away.
Hmm.
I remember when I got over to my grandfather's house and my uncle was there. And my uncle was like, "Why are you bent over like that? Why are you not standing upright?" And I replied, "Well, I had my tubes clipped and burned the previous day." Both my uncle and my grandfather looked at me with disgust and said, "Why would you do something like that?" They were both disgusted.
Hmm.
I held on to that as a neurodivergent person would for 20 years. And after 20 years, I asked my uncle, "Why were you and Pop angry at me for getting myself sterilized back then?" And you know what he replied and said? He said, "Well, we didn't like who you were married to at the time, and we were hoping that you would leave him, and you basically rendered yourself worthless to any other man because you wouldn't be able to provide that man a legacy. You rendered yourself worthless for getting yourself sterilized."
It's insane. Like, that's literally
And
insane.
And they are not the first men to have said that to me.
But that's how men think of us, though, for real.
Let me see who this is. Oh, Sovereign.
Sovereign's here.
Yes,
Oh,
baby.
I ain't gonna be long. I ain't gonna be up here long.
Sovereign and I are going to be chatting later today. We're recording our podcast with Bourbon
Cool.
Bougie as our guest.
Cool.
How
Yeah.
you doing, Sovereign?
I'm good. I just pulled up in my driveway, just sitting here.
I love your video from today about the religious men.
Oh, okay. Thank you. No, I just heard
See?
I heard her saying that her uncle told her she rendered herself useless. The stuff
Yes.
that men say is
Yes.
oh my
Now,
God.
It's
but
atrocious.
mind you, this is coming from a man who is now 67 years old that has 18 children. 18 children, I think, spread amongst 7 women.
Really?
Yes. And the
Yikes.
youngest of the 18 is, if I'm not mistaken, should be approaching 5 years in age.
Well, it's
They
like
just see
how
women as incubators, that's all.
exactly, and they don't even value their own seed. Like they don't even value their own contribution. Because if you did, why would you do it 18 times and then not take care of any of them?
And he
Right.
hasn't
Right?
taken care of not nary one of them young. Not
Yeah.
Exactly. So how's
nary,
that a legacy for him? That's my question. How the fuck is that a legacy for him?
not nary a one of them.
How are they supposed
From
to
what
carry
I
on his
understand,
legacy? Yeah, that's
I
the
get
legacy that they want, ladies. They just want to saddle you with a bunch of babies and give
and
them
what he
the
was
last
trying to
name.
do, he was trying to get a boy. All he kept getting was girls.
Can you imagine? I have a family member who kept having babies because her husband wanted a son, and she already had 4 boys beforehand. Then she got married, and he wanted a son, so she
Of
had a
his
girl.
own.
Yeah, she had a girl first. Then she got pregnant again, had another girl. Got pregnant again, had another girl. And he ended up unaliving a few years ago, like randomly out of nowhere. But before this happened around like between 2005 and 2007, I think she had those 3 girls, somewhere around there. And I
Mm-hmm.
remember looking at her and I was like, you gonna just keep having babies? And she was like, my husband want a son. And I was like, what if you only just keep popping out girls? Are you just gonna keep having babies? She was like, well, my husband wants a son. But they ended up stopping at the 3 girls. She said that was enough. I don't know if what I asked her had anything to do with it, but she gave up on it after that. Then
I mean, good for her.
Mm-hmm.
he ended up
Mm-hmm.
unaliving from a heart attack or whatever. But still, but my whole thing is women don't ever think about the fact that you can have all those babies for a guy and they will leave you, they will unalive, they can
Mm-hmm.
go up to the army and never come back. Like,
Mm-hmm.
why would you
Mm-hmm.
have that many kids? I will never understand that. I never.
You know what, Sovereign? I told this instance in your live. I'm gonna tell it here in Lisa's live. My ex-husband's first cousin expired on the delivery table, delivering her second child, which was a boy.
Ugh.
She struggled delivering the first child, and the doctor had told her that it would be within her best interest to not have any more children because of the possible risk of her expiring trying to have another baby. Her
Wow.
husband was like, that you couldn't have any more. Let's try to have another.
They just
She got
don't
pregnant,
care.
bled out on the delivery table, and what did he do? He packed up that
And
baby,
moved on
he
to the
packed
next
up that
chick.
daughter, and dropped the children off to her mother, and he was never to be seen again.
Yep.
Of course. That don't shock me one bit. I'm sure he moved right on to the next woman.
Yep.
I'm quite sure he did too.
So,
I
ladies, like
really
it's just literally not safe out here. Provider men are not just a fantasy for other men, they're a fantasy in general.
I agree.
A provider would never hold that shit over your head. A provider would never hold his little 60K salary over your head like it's something for you to like do what with? What are you gonna do with that? What is he providing? He's taking
Oh
from
my
you.
God.
He's taking the opportunity for you to find an actual provider man, taking the opportunity from you to provide for yourself. He's giving you less than what it's going to take to support an entire family on. Do not fall for these quote unquote provider men. They can't
Matter
even
of
take
fact,
care of themselves with their 60.
matter of fact, my previous husband didn't believe that I was sterilized when we got married. It wasn't until we were 5 years into the marriage when it finally stuck that, with him, like, dang, you did go and do something like this.
Mm-hmm.
And mind you, he had no children whatsoever. The woman that he previously impregnated deleted that pregnancy, right? So he had the unmitigated temerity to ask me how much would it cost for me to reverse that procedure because he didn't have a child of his own. And I said to him, the universe knew what it was doing to make sure that none of your offspring came earthside.
Yes.
And that's what men are afraid of. That's why they want to take our rights away to our bodies, because they know we're the real choosers. We're the real deciders of this stuff. And they want to be the decider. That's why they call themselves a provider and all this stuff. Really, all that word provider just means they want to trap you into having as many of their kids as they want you to have, regardless of health, regardless of what you want, etc., etc. And on top of that, they'll use religion to manipulate you with that. All of these things are interconnected.
Yep.
And
matter of fact, I saw another video where somebody took a screenshot, and that screenshot said that the rapist should have the right to choose whatever woman that they want so they can clean up their bloodline.
Oh my God. I can't even imagine. Listen.
And everyone in our
I'm not going to say
government,
what I want to say.
I know, and everyone in our government right now is on their side. On their side.
Absolutely.
So y'all know.
Oh, they're pushing it.
Elon Musk needs more work.
The very fact that that man got in office after what he did, that was the sealed deal right there. Like, it's okay to our women. It's okay. You're probably not going to be prosecuted or anything. That's why women need to protect themselves at all costs and get them a great equalizer. Get a great equalizer.
Remember, God created men and women, and Colt made them equal. Get yourself a eraser for sure.
Get you a hand cannon. Make sure that you go to the range when you get said hand cannon. Anything jumps off before you can get to the range. My husband is a mark. He said this: aim for the chest and it will buck and then hit you right between the eyes.
Amen. Amen. Let the church say amen. Hey, she said divorcing my spouse because he voted against women's rights. Listen, if you lay next to a man who voted against your rights, that man doesn't love you. He don't give a F about you.
That's the sad truth.
Don't say ain't nobody told you. Don't say we didn't tell you. He doesn't care. He cares about whatever. You remember we were talking about the correlation between divorced men who voted for T? These men are like upset that they can't control your body. Like a lot of them voted for him so women can lose their rights. It has nothing to do with eggs or the economy or milk or whatever they was talking about. Was it eggs and what was the other? Gas. Yeah. It don't have nothing to do. They use that as a cover up. They want to see women lose their rights. They want to see marginalized people not getting anything because we're getting ahead. Black people doing too well. We started to do too well. We got to find a way to keep them back. Women are too independent. We got to find a way to keep the women dependent. That's what they voted for. So just be careful.
Also, I'm getting ready to throw another spin on it, another little spice into this pot that we cooking in. The Latin culture fellas that came here from other countries, they voted also because they wanted us to suffer, because the idea of answering to a woman does not align with
absolutely.
A lot of white immigrant men do the same thing. It's not even like that. It's just a men thing, you know? The only men that consistently don't vote against women's rights are Black men, but that's like, I heard a lot of women say that's just because they know that Republicans like hate them too. It's because like they don't want to be negatively affected by the same kind of things that affect women. And that's fine with me. Like, that's okay. that means we're kind of on the same side. But I think if they were given the choice, vote in
Yep.
a more nuanced way where they could protect their own rights as men, but take women's rights away, they would vote for
They
them.
absolutely would. They absolutely would. I
Because
don't
what
know
they
if you
told
ever.
Kamala was they don't want to pay child support. That was
I
their
remember
biggest
that.
like voter issue.
I don't know if you
Baby,
know.
listen.
I don't know if y'all know who Cynthia G is, but I remember
Yes, I.
it might have been last year or the year, but it might have been in 23. She did a poll on her channel, and her poll was to black women. She said, "Black women, if you could choose," and I'm paraphrasing because I can't remember exactly how she worded it, but she basically said, "If you could choose to live under white supremacy or under black male leadership, which would you choose?" Like 90% of black women said they would prefer to stay under white leadership. Because inherently, we know deep down, if they were to get power, they
Mm.
would probably dog us worse than white supremacy.
Well, look at what happened with the Black Panther. That was
Yeah,
not a safe space for women. That was a very
and the
patriarchal.
Moors, the Moors chased after white women and
Mhm.
had black women serving them right along with white women.
Yeah.
So we know from history and the fact that, we unfortunately we have had our men, which I don't like calling them our men, but I'm just using that for context. We like the only thing they've ever fought for was access to white women. That's it. They never went to court to fight for anything. And it's unfortunate. And I know there's a lot of black men in our community that love black women. We know that, but I just don't feel like it's enough of. But
No.
yeah, that I did a video right after the election where I'm like, if black women wasn't really, if we divested from black men before the election, we don't care how you voted because we already know you're going to go right back to your depravity tomorrow.
Hmm.
So if we wasn't effing with you beforehand, we're not going to eff with you after. And as a matter of fact, black women in particular feel like we ain't effing with nobody at this point. We're
At,
just like
at
over it.
all.
As
We
we
ain't
At
effing with
should.
all.
nobody as a group.
At
So
all.
it just is what it is. Black women have it tough, but even though the people in this country voted for hatred, because that's literally what they did.
Mm-hmm.
The other marginalized people, a lot of the white women, they voted for hatred. The crazy part is everybody is about to be affected by this. I'm not worried about black women at all because black women have been through so much that we're resilient as fuck. Like black women are gonna be okay at the end of the day. If anybody is gonna be okay, we're gonna be fine because
Come on.
Because you
we know
always
how to
have been.
survive literally anything because that's all we've ever known was how
Exactly.
to survive.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
When we say we're resting, we're resting.
And you should, because fundamentally things have never changed for y'all. Like the stuff that like black women help white men, white women, everybody to fight for, they at the very last second always somehow get left out of it. Like that's the pattern that I've noticed, and that's why we don't have equality as women. To all the white women with the blue bracelets asking why women can't just stick together as women, it's not because of the black women, it's because of the white women. It's because
Yeah.
the black women will come out and fight, put their all into everything. And at the end of the day, it doesn't benefit them. That's why they're going to be fine. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
they've never actually been given an easy ramp to anything.
Mm-hmm.
Never.
So
This is what
you
my
can't take
grandfather
away
taught
something
me.
that people have never had, you know? Like
Mm-mm.
they were
This is
always
something that
fighting
my
more for our rights than their
mm-hmm.
own. It fucking sucks.
And the rights of the
my
LGBT and we're fighting for everybody, really. For the
Yeah.
most
mm-hmm.
No,
part.
for sure. For sure. And
My
like
grandfather told me that cottage cheese cartel person will pat you on the back while at the same time dig the dirt from under your feet.
yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of, that's why we talk about intersectionality, because all of this, like the same way that men treat us on the whole as women, like white women need to understand that we participate in that kind of abuse too, as a whole, right? And it's not all white women until it's one of us white women, right? And that's why like I make that a point to talk about that. We can rah as women all we want, and it means absolutely nothing if we don't take the white supremacy out of it. You know, like black women sitting back and not wanting to have anything to do with any of this, that's what we deserve.
Listen, I am retired. I haven't been in the workforce now for 8 years. I'm going to sit and drink my coffee and have my little muffins
Mm-hmm.
or whatever it is that I choose for that day. And I'm going to watch everything fall apart.
Mm-hmm.
Don't come ask me for a motherfucking thing.
I also hope that like black owned businesses take the same exact approach to inclusion, diversity, and equality as all the white people are taking. Like, I hope that y'all feel comfortable enough to be like, no, we don't hire white people. Get comfortable. You do the same thing. Be like, no, we're not forced by law to hire a single white person. So we're going to openly discriminate against that. No white people allowed. Don't come in here. Don't ask for a job.
As a disclaimer, though, if you do that, black people, make sure you got insurance on your business.
God, I
Make
know.
sure, make sure you dot your T's. Dot your I's and cross your T's, because we know what they will do when they get angry. They'll come burn it all to the ground.
Yep.
So just make sure you got insurance. But to be honest, the DEI thing, for whatever reason, I'm not that concerned with the DEI because of like not hiring black people or whatever, or Latinas or whoever. Yeah, I'm more concerned that it's just going to be another way for them to shut women out of certain industries and to keep us from working so that we can go back to the kitchen where we belong. That's really, I think it's done for that reason. And the other stuff is part of it, but it's really about a stab at women, in my opinion. You want to hear funny? You want to hear something funny? I got hired at this one nursing home. Before I got hired there, at the time, my ex-boyfriend, his mom and all his sisters and cousins was all trying to get hired up there. His mom got hired up there some years before I started working there, and she ended up getting fired for whatever reason. And then a lot more of his family members were trying to get hired, and they wouldn't hire any of them. So they were telling me, oh, they're racist. They don't hire black people, blah, blah, blah. And because that has never happened to me, like I've never had that experience. I've never not gotten a job that I applied for. So I didn't listen to that. I didn't care. I was like, they were the highest paid at the time and all of that. So I was like, I'm finna go. And I went, and it was a white tea lady. And she was super nice. I ended up not liking her after I got hired, but she liked me the whole time for whatever reason. She hired me. She was like, you're just such a ray of sunshine, and you're so pretty, and your smile. And she was just really complimenting me. And I was like, thank you. And she said, and I have a little secret. I was like, yeah. She was like, I've never, ever met anyone in the world with my mom's name was George. So I wanted to see who you were and meet you, and I'm so delighted. And she was just so literally she pulled my application because of my name. Yeah. And then of course I had the experience, but still. And she admitted that to me, and she ended up liking me the whole time I worked there. But I really didn't like her because she was like really condescending and mean.
Yeah,
and
because that's how she really feels. Like
yeah, but she was never like that towards me. I saw how she was to everybody else. So I didn't really like, but she liked me.
You were her exception.
She let me get away with stuff for whatever reason.
Sovereign, keep it real. You were her token.
Yeah, you were her
exception.
I know.
I agree. I agree with that.
You were her token. Matter of fact, I
totally agree.
Had my name not been racially ambiguous, I would not have gotten a lot of the jobs that I have had in my lifetime. I had to end up dropping the zip codes to the schools that I attended and dropping the zip code to where I lived, because they would look at the zip code, and if the zip code had a high concentration of us in it, I would get denied the job.
That's fucking cool.
Oh yeah. That's a real thing.
It is a real thing. And that's why I say all this stuff intersects. Like, this is how white people like to think of themselves too, right? As providers, as, the civilized ones, as whatever, when it's clear
the
that
savior
they are
complex.
Clearly the parasites, the barbaric ones, the like warmongers. That's what they are. But they'll come up here, they'll sit up here and say, oh, we're the civilized ones. We had to help civilize. We had to help provide. These people wouldn't have done anything. And it's like, it's just a fantasy. It's just a fantasy that you are doing something bad, but you're actually doing something really good. It all comes down to insecurity, and it comes down to, how can I make myself useful? How can I make myself inextricable? And the people that are actually useful, they don't ever have to ask that question, right? They don't ever have to ask because they're useful, right? Because nature will act accordingly. Um,
Yeah, that's
so
true.
that's what you need to know is that if somebody is actually what they say they are, they probably wouldn't need to be saying it. If
Yep.
somebody's actually a leader, if somebody's actually a provider, if somebody's actually, civilized or whatever, they wouldn't need to be saying it. A lot of men just really don't like women. Just remember that. Like, a lot of men are socialized not to like women. When men exhibit anything that is, historically tied to women, they are told they are a woman. They are belittled by that phrase.
Mm-hmm.
Sovereign, we got a question for you in the chat. How does Sovereign feel about God-fearing women?
Like God, like the same way, are they referring to God, how I feel about God fearing men, like women who fear God? I think God fearing women, and I don't mean any rude disrespect to anybody, but God fearing women are the most manipulated people on the planet to me. Religion in general is made up. It was created by the patriarchy, as far as I'm concerned,
Hmm.
as a way to manipulate and control women and women's bodies. So it favors men. Men benefit from religion more than anything because it all favors men. I,
It
I don't think
internalized
I don't
misogyny.
think yeah, I don't think God created men. I think men created God.
Period.
They made it's made up. And so, God fearing women, while I understand as a woman that women have good intentions and that most people's religion was shoved down their throat, I think women, when they believe in God, typically, generally speaking, have good intentions. Men don't have good intentions. So that's the only difference as far as I'm concerned. Now, it's not to say that there are not women out there who don't use religion to manipulate and to get their way. And, a lot of narcissistic women, when they get called out, they'll say, well, God has forgiven me. So there are women that use it to manipulate. But overall, women mean good, in my opinion. And men use it as a way to control you, as a way to control your body, your womb, the way you think, the way you dress, the way you talk, the way you act is all a way to control women. And I feel bad for women because it's like you're still following a system in 2025 where we have all this information at our fingertips. There's no reason to still believe in this stuff because there's too much information out there. But it's crazy that so many women are still following the most oppressive thing known to men, in my opinion. Yeah, it's made to oppress women and control women, and I don't know why women would. I don't understand how women don't see the manipulation and they push religion more than anybody. If you go to any church, anywhere, from
Hmm.
any faith, you're mostly going to see mostly women. It's going to be 90 something percent women in that church doing the most, doing free labor and all of that. And the guys, most women who have husbands that go to church, they drag them there every Sunday or whatever day they go to church.
Absolutely. Yep.
The men never want to go. In my opinion, I don't even think most men even believe in God for real. They just use it as a manipulation tactic. It benefits them. So, and they know it gets women. So there's a
Hmm.
lot of women out there who say, I love a God fearing man. Men know that. So they lie about being a God fearing man the same way they lie about their bank account, same way they lie about their peen size, same way they lie about whatever they got to say to get you. Religion is just another one of those tactics that they use to get you.
Look at Ashley and Tyler from Love Is Blind. I pegged him right away. I was like, oh, he's praying with her, doing all this stuff. Nope.
It's so fake. It's so fake.
Hmm.
Everything is fake. More and more women are waking up, and I'm so happy about that. But I'm still shocked at the amount of women, especially black women. And I'm saying especially black women in particular because in my, from my observation, black people are the most allegedly. Let me just say black women are the most religious and are the most downtrodden as a group. So even in believing in that, your existence as a black woman goes totally against like the religion. Like you're supposed to be saved by God and you're supposed to be doing well in life and all of that, but you're not. And I'm saying
Hmm.
as a group, I'm not saying individually, but
Hmm.
as a group, we're the most downtrodden race and the most discriminated against. And it's like you would think that we should be the number one group of people to know that none of this is real, that God doesn't exist. but they are hanging on to it. And I think for the same reason why like poor white people hang on to their whiteness,
Mm-hmm.
because that's all they have. Black people, religion is all they have in their mind. I feel like we have more than that, but until they get away
Well,
from that, they feel like that's it. That's all they have. They don't have
not
anything
only
else to
that,
cling
but
to.
religion was used as a tool in order to further, like, in order
Enslavement.
to brainwash, like, black people.
Yeah,
They were made forced to read the Bible. They were forced to, like, they were forced into these religions because they did not have these. But once that the slave owners figured out that um, that they're waking up, that's when they forced religion on them. That's when they started
yeah.
reading. Like, I'm literally reading a book about this right now, and I'm going to be making a lot of videos about it. But it is, it's like a trauma bond, basically, that black people have with religion. It really is because of white people. It's a tool
Yeah.
for control.
That was even more of a
The book
reason
I'll
for
show
me
you.
to deconstruct. Yeah, that's even more of a reason to me for black women to deconstruct from it. It's like they didn't want you to know how to read. You couldn't be free. You couldn't do anything outside of being a slave, but they're going to give you a book and say this is God's plan and you're supposed to be reading this book even though you wasn't supposed to read anything in the first place because you
Hmm.
people got people got strung up from trees if they got caught reading a book. But then you believe this Bible that they put in front of you? Like that is just such a it's
It's
so
actually the
contradictory.
first chapter in this book is religion and the invention of racism. So,
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
so yeah,
Yeah,
I'll
I
get
am
back to you.
so,
I'm reading it
so
right now.
glad that I was not raised up in the church. So glad. The first time I stepped into a church, I was 13 years old. And all of what I saw was a bunch of buffoonery.
Hmm. Yeah,
It was a
if you're not like brainwashed into it,
indoctrination.
Indoctrinated.
indoctrinated, yeah,
Yeah.
it's actually very easy to see it at 13 years old. Like, I
Oh,
was always
absolutely.
like
Baby.
shocked at how many kids my age were so confident about things that I wasn't allowed to ask questions about. But I realize now it's just because they weren't indoctrinated.
Yep. That's what I was talking about too in my video earlier. That yeah, I clocked the fake stuff when I was a kid.
Mm,
I just and when people ask me like I grew up in the church, but people ask me all the time like how long have I been an atheist? And I'm like, really, if I really think about it, I've been an atheist my whole life because I never really fully bought into the religious text, the story. I never fully believed it. So I really would say but I was an atheist before I even knew what that there was a term for what I was.
Here's the
mm.
thing. We are born atheists.
Yeah, exactly.
We
I
we
agree.
we are we are born atheists. Then we are later spoon fed the slow roasted fucktivities.
Kelsey J, that's another question I always had. Like, I'm like, what about women? Like, why is it
Hmm.
always man, man, man? I knew something was wrong with that. It just never set well with me.
Hmm.
Um, Women are second place, but we're the ones who give birth. Like, how does that make sense? I'm like, why would your God give women the ability to give life, and not men? Why? That
And
makes no
then,
sense.
all right, let's keep it a lean bean. There are over 22 books missing from the Bible, and those 22 books that are missing all discuss the goddess principle. And the Apocrypha, if anybody's familiar with the Apocrypha, tells the story of Lilith.
Hmm.
And the story of Lilith, she's demonized and basically says that she's a harlot who steals um, the fertilizer from the phallus carrier, and
Hmm.
her children that are created from that are little bastard demons.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. And I said, oh, so that's where single mother hate comes from.
Hmm.
That's where that comes from.
Yeah, I mean that and the fact that the Bible was never meant to be a book. Like even when we talk about books being left out, y'all have to understand that this was put together by the Council of Nicaea or whatever back in like
At the Council of Nicaea, 325 AD, by Emperor Constantine.
so
Yeah,
they just took a bunch of old scripts and slapped them all together. Like whatever supported their narrative and they left
yeah,
out
I was just
whatever
gonna
did
say
not.
that. Yeah, the stuff that didn't. I personally, the Bible to me is just a book of fables.
Yeah.
So
It's
I
an
never
interesting
care.
historic document.
Yeah, like I never care. When people reference the Bible, I always just kind of roll my eyes because I'm like, I like it doesn't matter. Or
It's
like
kind
when
of like
people
referencing like Harry Potter, like in real
absolutely
life. Like,
exactly,
oh, like if you say this spell, like
exactly,
something's gonna happen. Like, okay, you do
exactly.
it. Like you do it. I don't
It's like,
know.
oh, because it's in a book, it's real.
Yeah.
So Harry Potter is real, and Moby Dick is real, and all of these like Peter Pan is real, right? Okay, it's in a book. It's right here. Like, really? Or even when black people in particular will get into an argument about whether God is a woman or a man, or whether God was black or white, and I'm like, it doesn't matter. It's like arguing about the race and gender of Santa Claus.
Of a unicorn.
Does it really matter if Santa
Right.
Claus isn't real to begin with? Why are
Thank
we
you,
having this
Titus.
conversation?
Thank you.
Like, it doesn't matter to me.
No,
So,
seriously.
Considering my age and seeing y'all come along and busting the doors down, y'all make an old woman feel good.
Thank
oh,
you. Thank
she
you.
Because I had to battle with those old battle axes that were raising me,
Mm-hmm.
that told me that I was too hard headed, too stubborn. Nothing good would ever come to me because of the way that I was operating as a woman, saying
hmm
that I would always have a hard time because I wouldn't mind a man or wouldn't listen to what a man had to say. And
yeah.
then I stood firm on what it was that I was moving in, and then when I walked away from Throat Boy after 14 years and being told that I threw my life away and I could have worked that out, or being told that I didn't know what to do with myself after I walked away from that and everything. I stayed the course for 7.5 years and moved to the beat of my own drum.
I always wonder why people get so caught up in caring about how your life is going to turn out because you don't follow the status quo. Like when people say stuff like
Because
that to me, I'm like, I don't care anything about you. So why do you act like you care about you're not going to make it in life? You're going to have a hard time. No man's going to want you. You're going to die with your cats. I'm like, why do you care so much about how I'm going to end up? I don't give a flying
That's a
rat's ass
great
about you
question.
at all. I don't care about you at all. Why do you act
because
like
here's
you
the
care?
thing. I'm gonna tell you why they care. They are jealous because they have wasted so much of their life dealing with bullshit. And because you are choosing you, you are
Mhm.
not supposed to choose.
And it
You're
also makes it
supposed to settle for
obvious that they
bullshit.
didn't have to do what they did, right? Like
Huh?
you are the proof that they didn't have to struggle to be a
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
better man.
Yep. That's very true. Especially that's true with
Mm-hmm.
child free stuff too. I noticed. I've been noticing that. Yeah.
There's one of the women that I know right now who is currently in her 70s. She was born in 1941. She looks like death eating crackers right
Stop.
now.
Stop. Stop.
All right. The man that she's currently with did not put a ring on her finger until 20 years after they had been together. They got together in 1973. In 1993, he was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, and that's when he married her.
Yeah.
Diabetes. You know what's funny? So there's a such thing as a shut up ring.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a such thing as a I can't do any better. I can't do any better. Here you go, ring. Like
Yep.
I wasted my life. I've been trying to upgrade you. I'm realizing now that I don't have any more options. So here, marry me. I need a nurse and a purse. I need so yeah,
Yeah.
The
the nurse and the
caretaker
Yeah.
purse
ring.
ring, the caregiver ring, and
Mm-hmm.
the setup ring. Facts.
And then I know another woman that didn't get married until her and her dude had been together for 25 years.
Oh,
And the
wow.
only reason that he married her is because he had gotten into a terrible accident while he was working for the city and almost checked out of here. Then he married her.
Yep.
Yeah.
Do
What?
you
Oh, I'm so
I'm gonna
disgusted.
tell you, I know so many women again in my lifetime that didn't get a ring until 20 to 25 years later.
I wouldn't
And
even
tell me,
want
so
that
like
shit.
back to the point, that's why men are not providers. Right? I'm 55 and they're starting to look at me like a nurse with a purse. Where's the providerism? Where are the providers? They don't even hide it from y'all, you know? And like men and women both come in here like, oh, what do you mean men aren't providers? Look around. I'm begging you. Look around.
Where they at?
When do men marry women and what do those same men bring to the women in marriage?
Yep.
Kids that they don't take care of, STDs. I literally
Yep.
know someone I know knows like a man who has had multiple wives die from cervical cancer. Why is
Oh
that
no.
concerning? Why is that concerning? Because it's the man that will give you cervical cancer. It's the men that give,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
the fact that
Mm-hmm.
he had 3 wives die from cervical cancer, he unalive.
That's
Okay.
terrible.
With his
Yeah.
pee.
And,
With his
and
pee.
here's the thing, those old women called said that those type of men had white liver. Yeah, those type of men had white livers. Anytime they got with a woman and that woman left this world, his liver was white.
Oh,
And they would
supporting
tell
each
us,
other.
yes,
We need
yes.
we need to
Got it.
check our men's livers and make sure that they ain't white.
Mm-hmm.
Oh
No,
my God.
seriously. And they're the
One of the
ones really
things that one
spreading
of the
disease
old
around.
women,
Meanwhile, they're calling
mm-hmm.
women 304s. They're calling women used up and ran through. Sir, you are literally like, they don't get checked. They don't care what they have because they're
Yeah.
going to give it to you and it's not going to affect them. No, when men get STDs, it's not as bad for them as it is for women. Also, like pregnancy is technically an STD, especially if you're not trying to get pregnant. So
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
that's what men are providing to you. That's what they're
Nobody want
providing
no
to you.
no sexually transmitted dependence.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Exactly, because that's
Sh-
what they'll do, and that those children will be
Sexually
very dependent.
transmitted dependence.
Do you
I'm
know
just
And
how
not
I
a
know that men know women are the real providers? Is because they're so comfortable leaving their children with a single mother. Because they know that a single mother is going to
it's
provide
gonna take care of that. Yep.
someone
and
is
provide
asking,
for
are we
several
married?
children.
The host is married and I'm married. I've been married 10 years
I'm not married and I'm never getting married.
Mm-hmm.
and we support her.
Mm-hmm.
And I support them.
I hope that answers your question.
And regardless to if we're married or not, we all agree on what we're saying.
Mm-hmm.
So even if they try to pull the well you're not married, you can't give an advice. Well we're all agreeing. So what
Mm-hmm.
difference does it make? You feel me? Because they always do that. They come here like, are you married? Do you
Right.
have a position? And like, listen, it doesn't matter.
Right.
I'm not married because
You
I don't
know,
want
most of these jokers don't do nothing but bring you dick and problems.
to. Yep.
Yep. Thank you, public. See, and the real men will agree. Men that know what's up, they will agree. They're like, yes, men are generally a drain on women, and it takes a special man to realize that, first of all, to break through all the BS. Now, I know public has talked about he has also seen this like pretty
Yeah.
clearly early on. He's probably also neurodivergent. It just makes it easier to see it. But
Yep.
the real men will see this. My husband saw this. He was always like, I don't understand why men are always getting like they're trapped by the idea of marriage and stuff. Like, then why are they all married? Like, men don't have to get down on a one knee and propose to anybody and then complain about being married, right? But it's because they want to have their cake and eat it too. They want
Yeah.
you to provide, but they want to be called the provider. Yes, our husbands all know our stances. My husband is like the biggest fan of this channel.
Facts.
So,
And
you know.
bonus, her husband is
Hold
also a fan
on.
of me.
Matter of
Yes,
fact,
my
someone in
videos.
here that wants to know that if you agree with my stances on how I feel about men,
Of course he does.
he can tell. He'll tell you. Here he comes.
Yeah, I know about how she feels about men because I've heard her life story.
Mm-hmm.
She hasn't had any positive examples of men before. Let her tell it before I came along.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. See?
And a real
Aha.
man understands that. And a real man understands that a lot of these men are they're just trying to have their cake and eat it too. They're trying, like, what they're doing is trying to
Are
take
you able to
advantage
hear?
of.
No.
That's it. Men know the game. Men
All
know
right,
the
I
game.
put it with
And it takes an evolved man to take himself out of the game, to take himself off the easy ramp, to
Yep.
take himself off the undeserved, like the path of least resistance.
Wait, man, why are black women talking with this woman about your problems? Do you think you have the same problems? All women in this country have the same problem in one way or another. We're all affected by government. We're affected by the laws in the same way. We're dealing with the same things if we're dealing with certain men, right? There's some in many ways we're all dealing as a woman, we're dealing
And
with the
that's
same
what we're
stuff.
talking about. We need to unite on. And that's where I say that, like, a lot of white women don't unite with other women on being women, right? They unite with white people on being white. And this
A
is why
name
it is
a
important.
name 80. Are you black or white? She's probably black. I'm assuming she's black.
And I don't really fault her for having that opinion. White women are not generally trustworthy, and I get it.
Mm-hmm.
I get
And for those
anybody that wants to side eye white women with a platform. I get it.
and for those of you all who don't know in the chat, YV and I are in a podcast together. We have a podcast. So we discuss these issues and we align on a lot of issues in general.
Hmm.
So,
And
you
then
know,
I moderate for the Sovereign Woman,
she
and I
sure
now
does.
moderate for YV as well.
Thank you.
She's
You're
the best
welcome.
moderator.
And Uncle Bella is sitting here listening to the whole thing. Uncle Bella and I have been together going on 10 years.
Hmm.
Uncle Bella has made my life easy.
Mm-hmm.
That's a
We
good
like
man.
Uncle Bella.
Hmm. Shout out. And he's probably not holding it over your head. Like, that's the closest to a provider man that you as a woman are gonna get.
I totally
Other
agree.
than that, it's like, if you are out here making a man's life so much easier, you're the real provider. If all a man has to do is go to work and bring home a small paycheck for you to then stress about bills, clip coupons for groceries, for you to, like, struggle, you can't put your kids in daycare, you can't go get a job, you can't provide for yourself. That's not a provider man.
No,
That's
not at all.
a man who has trapped you.
That is a very good
That's an
distinction.
abuser.
And he has
Go
never
ahead.
said a cross word to me.
Hmm.
He has never called me out of my name. If anything, he makes sure that I am taken care of in regards to my health. In regards to if he sees that I have been doing too much, the first thing he'll do, sit down
Yep.
somewhere. I got it.
Yep.
I know that's right.
And that's my dad too. And that's why I have high standards for men. I don't know why it's so hard for them to understand. If you're going to come in here and talk about how men are the providers and women have nothing because women wouldn't have anything if it weren't for men, all this kind of stuff, the least you can do is be a provider man yourself, is be a man who is not, like, leeching off a woman, or a man who's not looking to be a parasite. And I can tell from, like, 10 million miles away that that's what most of these men are. They're looking for a host. That's not a provider.
Oh my God. Dry Milk said, my man couldn't give a F about my health. Why are you with him? If you know that, why are you with him?
Do you think it's going to get better? Because it's not.
It never gets better.
Oh, all right, y'all. I should probably jump off and go get ready for this podcast because I actually got to drive over there. Yeah, drive to the podcast because my house is too loud to record, and I happen to know a useful man who helps us produce the podcast.
Oh, we love
He
Ryan.
records
We love
it.
our producer.
Yeah, he's our producer, and he's doing all that right now for free. So,
You know the thing I love about him, about Ryan? He is like, he sits there and listens to us without judging,
mhm.
but he also finds us so funny. And
Yes.
like he just
But he's
he
cracking me up
loves
like
it.
the whole
I
time.
love that. Oh, I know.
Yeah.
I don't always hear him
It's up
laughing,
there.
but whenever I do hear him laugh, yeah, it's up there at the top, y'all. Our podcast, we have new episodes dropping every Monday. Yeah, on Spotify, on Apple. Those are our main two most popular places where people download. So yeah.
Bet.
And every week our numbers are growing substantially, and it is
It's
so
been
great. We're
amazing.
so
Seriously,
grateful.
thanks
Yeah.
so much, y'all.
So y'all check that out.
And I'm actually proud of you two.
Yeah.
And more than anything, I honored to be on both of y'all's panels because I have been following the both of y'all for a long time.
Oh, that's
Thank you,
sweet. I'm
Bella.
glad. I'm glad to have you on. My sister talked to you one time when she came on my live, right? Like when I first started going live on TikTok, and she just raved about you for a couple days. But
Hmm.
she don't really be on TikTok too much. But like if she ever got back on again, she would know exactly who you were, and she would be happy to like hear you talk because she thinks you are so funny. And when we got off and we were talking, she was like, she's one of those women who I would just want to be around like all the time. I
Hmm.
was like, I know, right?
Thank y'all.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
Thank
know. I
y'all.
love when you pop up in my lives.
I know, me too.
And yes, these chats are so important. I'm gonna try to put these up on YouTube. So if you're worried that you missed it,
Yes,
We
because
also have another Red Pill podcast coming soon,
I was
or
gonna say we're gonna get Ron
episode coming.
Dietrich. We gotta get Octavius on
We
the
got to get
panel.
Ron
oh
Dietrich.
yes.
We
And
don't know
look, and I
exactly
gotta
when, but it'll be soon.
It will be
and
soon.
look, I'm gonna have to go get the letter R embroidered on my beanie
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh
for
yeah,
Run Dietrich.
that is so funny. Glocktavius. Don't forget my name, Glocktavius.
So
Why
you got to get
Lisa
you got
is
to get a
busy.
baseball cap with the G on it.
Glocktavius is up there though. Like my husband still hasn't stopped talking about this little podcast thing. He's like, I just have Sovereign's voice in my head, like stuck in my head at all times.
Yeah.
I gotta work on my deep voice. I want my voice to be deeper next time.
It was so perfect. It was so good. I had no
Yes.
idea you had all that up your sleeve. I had no idea. It was amazing. The way
I'm
you got kind
telling
of
you, all
dark
you
with
gotta
it at
do.
the end too, so
I'm
Look,
good.
telling you, all it is the most ridiculous things. Whatever you
you're
think is
right.
logical, say the exact opposite of that, and that's red pill.
I've been
Literally, I'm so
Listen,
practicing.
serious.
Now I've been
I'm so,
practicing, y'all.
the way that you fell out when I said I clock in with this dick, the
oh
way that
Yep.
you,
my god, trying so hard to keep it together. Oh yeah, she said it with so much conviction. Like she said it like that's really what she did every day. Oh my god, it was
It
so funny.
was
And
so
then
good.
the comments under your videos and mine were public. They were like, "Not public joining in on the shenanigans." I was like,
Yeah.
"Yes, he made it so much funnier because he was asking questions like he was a real reporter, like really
Like
was
in good
seriously
faith.
asking these questions." Yes.
He
Oh
was
my
being
god, it
so
was so
patient
funny.
too. This is so
Oh my god.
good.
yes.
So good.
And
I always
then
tell
he said, "Oh, you cock in." Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what I
yeah,
do.
yeah, yep.
Tell
He was
public that
slow.
I always tell him that his amount of patience is like should be studied. Because I honestly don't know how he has the patience to deal with
I
the
sent
type
the
of
men from
men that
over
come
here
on
to
his
his live
panel.
earlier. I said I do not have the kind of patience. I was like,
I
y'all are
don't
asking
either.
to come up and y'all are like not literate. Like y'all don't make sense when you come up. I know who's asking to come up. Y'all come up on the public's lives and I have to listen to y'all speak at a third grade level.
Oh
A
my
third
God.
grade level. Y'all do not understand what you're saying. Like, I'm
They
not
don't
gonna
know how
deal
to
with
put it
y'all.
in
I said, go to
things. They don't know
public's
how to
live. Yeah.
infer. They
He'll
don't know what
talk
context is. They don't know nothing.
nothing.
Oh,
Baby, I
it's
Nothing.
hard.
had one tell me many years ago, "Why you use all them big school words?"
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, that is so annoying.
They're the
And
providers.
they don't even be big words sometimes. Like you don't even you're like, what? You think that's a big word? A
Mm-hmm.
guy asked me what was reciprocation. He was like,
Mm-hmm.
what's that?
Well,
Kelsey J said,
you
how different than be smart. Exactly.
wait a minute. I wait a minute. I had a guy tell me that I was too clean.
Yeah. Oh, they love that
That is
one.
crazy.
Until you
What?
let them live in their own filth. They don't want to live in their own filth.
Oh, right.
But they will
Exactly.
nag you for being too clean.
Yes.
That's red pill. See? That's
That's
red pill
red pill.
talking point right
Exactly.
there. There you go.
Exactly. All right, y'all. Catch us on the podcast. We'll have our Bourbon Bougie episode out next Monday. There's a new episode that just dropped today. Please follow. If you want something similar to a Discord that we have right now, that's our Patreon. We are in there. We are, getting to the comments. We're posting blogs, polls every week.
Yep.
And we have most of the stuff available to everybody, and everything that is like gate kept, it comes available a week later. Thank you to all those who are going to go check it out. We really appreciate you.
Yes. Please
Yes.
do.
All right, Sovereign,
All
I'll
right,
see you
y'all.
soon.
Bye, Bella.
Bye,
Bye,
Bella. Thank you so
babies.
much for popping
Right.
in.
No problem.
All right, love you,
Okay.
ladies. Bye.
Bye.